Hello everyone, I'm Michelle and welcome to Homebody Yoga with Michelle tips. So I'm going to start a little series of tips that are during your yoga practice or related to your yoga practice. So I teach a live community class on YouTube Live every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. So if you want to be reminded of that, I'll make a sort of an appointment you can get a notification reminder for if you're interested. All the recordings are also listed, obviously, as well. So today is really, really hot outside. I'm in New Jersey. I do live near the coast, but I know it's pretty much hot everywhere, and I'm not an extreme exerciser anymore. I'm in my 40s now. I've been teaching. I have a background in classical dance and I went to school for that. I have been down the serious athlete route and I know how that feels, and I know that I'm entering sort of a different approach to my movement in these years of my life. So I'm very well educated for a movement instructor in anatomy, and I'm very passionate and interested in that all the time. So I teach from that perspective, and I am very much gravitated towards things that are that make sense holistically, right? So I love when both worlds fuse together, and allopathic and homeopathic and in medicine, and we feel a sense of symmetry from everything sort of working and helping hand in hand, overhand, however you want to think about it. So exercising in the heat, right? So first of all, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not your doctor, or I'm not your particular instructor. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just letting you know from my very experienced perspective what I have found works for me. One of the things that I use as a really good tool these days is my Apple Watch. So if you have this or something like it that gives you your pulse or your blood pressure measurement, I only use the pulse measurement on here. So your BPM. Whenever I go for walks, I did running for a little while. It's really difficult for me to keep up with running and teaching yoga and also working with dancers. So I am now a walker, a long distance walker. I know that I should get my heart rate up a little bit. I try to do that, but today, and I love walking outside. I don't mind dressing for it. So today, beginning of my day, I like to do a nice 2-mile walk around my development. It's really hot today. I couldn't go super early in the morning, but I went out around, I'd say close to 10 o'clock, which was sort of borderline. 10 o'clock is late. If it's hot, and New Jersey's not nearly as hot as some other places. So if it's really hot and you're not out by 6 a.m., probably, for some people, that's the time they need to be out, or anything past then. 8 o'clock in the morning is probably too hot for a lot of places. So anyway, you really want to be able to monitor yourself a little bit while you're walking. That's a really, really good tool. You can set a goal for yourself. Make sure you dress appropriately. Wear a hat. I know it sounds silly, but wear a hat. Wear a big sun hat. It doesn't matter if you're a walker and you're wearing a big sun hat. Walk in the shade. Anyone who's ever lived in a really hot city knows this very well. You do not walk on the sunny side of the street in the summer. It's the opposite in the winter. So there's that. You can set a goal for yourself, but maybe it's not going to be your full distance, and maybe you need to break it up. Early in the morning half, later right before dark half. So today what I found, and we're talking like stifling, humid, hot. I started on my walk, I felt good. I drank a lot of water. Yesterday I was drinking a lot of water at the end of the day. Had a lot of citrus. I ate well. This morning I had to drink a lot more water, and I drank, I'm gonna say well over 64 ounces of water. So I spent my first hour or so of waking up just drinking a lot of water. And I drink water through a straw because I can get more of it down. I'm not great with sipping, through a glass. That's sort of another tip maybe, especially in yoga. I think that a straw is great. So, and you don't get air. So when I started off on my walk, I felt good. I felt sort of prepared. I had a hat on, had my sunglasses, I had my earbuds. I mean, I was all, technologied up, which I don't love, but there's some interesting things about this that I like. So I'm going on my walk. There's a bend that I go around that doesn't really have any trees and there's no shade. So when I walked around this bend, I could start to feel the intensity of the heat. I could feel, and there wasn't so much of a breeze. And usually we have a nice breeze. When I turn that corner, I know there's gonna be a breeze off the water, but it's not really that great, This is the bay side, it's not the ocean side, so it's not that much of a breeze. So when I turn the bend, and I do 2 loops around this area, when I turned the bend, I saw at the end of the sunny corner, one house had their sprinklers that just turned on for their lawn. And the sprinklers were shooting across the sidewalk, right? So it was sort of like shooting through. So if I walked on the sidewalk, I would get wet. So I walked on the sidewalk and I got a little spritz, right? A pretty good one, actually, and it felt great. And I felt like that really rejuvenated me. Now, the interesting thing about this is that even if you feel hot, sometimes it can make you feel, you don't know if you're overreacting. It's hard to tell when you're really, really overheated. But that's where this comes in. So I could tell that my pulse was going up. My pulse was going up to where it would be if I was doing a run, right? So if your pulse goes up, it depends on what your normal is too. You have to walk and really know your body and know your numbers. So what I could tell by this was, okay, I can't walk as fast. I have to slow down. Slow down your pace because your pulse is up. So we're going to just like chill out a little bit. What's interesting is that when I walked through those sprinklers, and like I said, it was sunny, and then a little bit after the sprinklers, still sunny, I walked through, I felt the coolness of the water, still in the sun, and I continued to walk around the corner and continue down another long street. Well, when I walked around that corner and looked down at my pulse, it dropped by 15 points. So just getting cooled off from the spritz outside helped my body feel a lot better faster, like really fast. I didn't walk with a water bottle. I would recommend that, definitely. Hooking a water bottle to your body. Like I said, I drank a ton of water before I went out, but knowing what I know now, I would have taken water with me, or I might not even have gone, to be honest with you. So I think people push themselves a lot and they want to sweat, and sweating for a lot of people feels good. You feel refreshed and cleansed and all this stuff. But there's a point where it's just too dangerous. Making sure that you eat the right amount of food and the right quantity of food, right? So when it's really, really hot out, you can actually make yourself sick if it's too much because of the heat too, when you go out into the heat. So very sort of citrusy fruits, things with water in them, things that feel that you feel moves through your body and doesn't pull you down so much. It's going to be an exaggerated version of normally how your body responds because you have this intensity of the heat. So I was able to go around that loop again. And when I got to that sunny part, it was harder. And I saw my pulse go up again because it would drop because I could go into shady zones. When I went into that, it's amazing how much more it jumped up, even when I slowed down my pace. And I wasn't stressed out because I sort of know from the numbers, I can monitor in a way, and I find a lot of comfort in that. So I feel like I'm not going to just end up spilled on the floor because I'm looking at the numbers that my body is producing at that moment. And I can decide maybe you need to stop and sit down in the shade. Do not sit in the sun, sit in the shade. If you need to sit on the grass somewhere, no one's going to care, right? Everybody is really nice usually when it comes to these things. But, you know, bringing your water, or I think there's a way to figure it out if you feel healthy enough, or if you are healthy enough. For some people, it's just flat out not healthy to do any of this. And hopefully you have some sort of indoor activity you could do. Maybe you have a bike machine, or maybe you have an elliptical or a treadmill. A lot of people who have a lot of allergies and asthma tend to feel better working out cardiovascularly indoors for those reasons, right? So for the breathing alone. So you want to make sure you're in your sort of temperate, humid environment, right? So your air conditioner takes the humidity out of the air, and that's better to breathe for you. So when I got around that second bend, the sprinkler was on again. I got really lucky. And so it was stronger. For some reason, they were pointing in a different direction where I got more soaked. So as I was doing that, you know, the owner of the house was coming out to get something out of her mailbox, and I thanked her. So I said, "Thank you so much. I really needed your sprinklers today." And so, you know, she commented on how, you know, sometimes in really hot climates that are really dry, there are misters everywhere. And I said, "This is way better than a mister." I was completely soaked, but I didn't care. And I just continued on my walk, and I had to stay slow. And I really think that working out and staying, you know, in your exercise routine can still feel good if you're smart. You have to be really, really smart and strategic about it. You can't just say, "I'm going to go when my schedule allows." It does not work at all. So then I knew when I came back in, I was going to be teaching, and I'm teaching yoga, and I'm going to be teaching online. So that's good. I knew I could get some food and relax and digest a little bit, but you just have to be really, really careful and make sure that when you come back from your walk, sit outside without walking, sit or relax in a shaded area. Let yourself be there for 5 minutes or so that your body can already start to regulate a little bit better. Then when you come back inside where it's much cooler and much less humid, your body can further continue to regulate, right? Sometimes that shock, depending on how cool you set your air conditioner, you know, the drastic difference is what gets us in trouble in either direction, right? So you want to be able to everything has to feel just moderate and balanced. I know that a lot of people don't want to do less, and they want to keep the regime, they want to keep their routine so that they don't lose anything, you know, for whatever reason that may be. But I can tell you, you're not going to lose anything. You're going to find something. You're going to find a better version of yourself. You're going to get to know your body better, and you're going to sort of feel that you can keep going no matter what it is, even if you need to adjusting and being flexible. It's not always about, "Oh, I need to do cardio for 45 minutes every day." No, you don't actually. You need to get your heart rate up 1 time per day for 15 minutes. That's all you need to do, and that only needs to be about 3 times a week. Look it up, do some research on cardiovascular health. You don't need to do as much as you think to have a really good health profile, to be physically fit in your heart. I mean, there are other factors in there, of course. We all have other things that we need to factor in, but bringing your heart rate up like 3 times a week is really all you need to do. So you don't have to go and run 10 miles every day, and you don't have to be pushed in that way. You have to keep moving, stretching, breathing. All of that stuff counts. I monitored even yoga, where it's like a very relaxed version of class that is more of a Taoist, Hatha, Qigong approach, not super crazy, not even inversions, okay? I have monitored myself so many times. It's usually a 2-hour class that I do with my teacher. And I can't even tell you how surprised I am that I burn like 350 calories while I'm doing that. And it does not feel like it at all. But that explains why I'm very hungry afterwards. So that's sort of the point, you know. I feel like I could just keep going and going because it feels so good. It's a wonderful pace. I feel relaxed. My pulse is like in the 60s when I'm doing yoga, and I'm breathing. I mean, you have to figure out what feels good for yourself, and then it's nice to have the numbers to give you that side of the information. And you'll find usually what feels good and feels relaxed is healthy. So just remember that and be nice to yourselves, and don't feel bad if you need to take a rest. Figure out something else to do. Maybe it's a stretching, maybe it's some yoga stretching and breathing, but it's going to help you feel like you did something, and you don't need to go and push yourself in the heat. And especially if you're not used to it, or sort of on the verge of not being healthy, don't do it. Yes, that's just my advice. Less is more. So you can be more later on. All right, thanks. Have a good day, everyone, and stay cool. Bye.